So many people these days are reporting that anxiety is ruining my life. Well, here are 4 essential tips for overcoming anxiety. Okay, for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Tim. I experienced severe anxiety for over 15 years and have successfully overcome it. If you would like to stay up to date with accurate information about anxiety, then please subscribe to this channel. And also click the bell notification so that you are alerted to all my upcoming videos as soon as they are published. Now, these tips are for those who are serious about recovery, not for people looking for a quick fix, because let me tell you, there are no quick fixes. Okay, so if you are serious about recovery, then here are 4 essential tips for overcoming anxiety. Tip 1, there are no quick fixes. There are no pills, potions, drugs, weird tricks, or any kind of fast hacks that are going to help you to overcome from an anxiety disorder. Sure, some of these things might provide some relief, but they are not going to really get to the heart of the problem. The tips that I am giving are really addressing the cognitive and behavioral aspects that contribute to your anxiety. In order to overcome from an anxiety disorder, it is going to take time. Your anxiety came about for a reason, and that reason is that you began to become fearful of something bad happening to you. Yes, that is the reason. Anxiety essentially is an emotion that has been produced by you negatively anticipating something bad happening in the future. When you imagine these things, parts of the brain located in the limbic system perceive that you are under threat. This then triggers the adrenal glands to secrete stress hormones rapidly into the bloodstream, which subsequently causes anxiety symptoms. I call them anxiety symptoms not because they are indicative of a medical condition, but because the symptoms are caused by the anxiety, by you negatively anticipating future events or scenarios. Some common anxiety symptoms are frequent urination, an increased heart rate, trembling, turning red in the face, feeling irritable, etc. The list of possible symptoms are almost endless. People also often begin to avoid situations in which they are fearful of, and even become fearful of the symptoms recurring. This creates more anxiety, as people often begin to worry that these symptoms are a sign that there is something medically wrong with them. People then look for ways to avoid and suppress the symptoms. This fear and way of behaving only serves to reinforce the anxiety. Now, this way of living can persist for years unless the person understands how their own way of thinking and behaving is what is sustaining the anxiety. Quick fixes do not address the cognitive and behavioral aspects of our anxiety. This is why they will not help you to overcome from anxiety. Tip 2, getting out of a stressful environment. Now, I don't mean escaping an environment that is challenging your anxiety, like leaving a room if you have to give a speech. I mean that if you are living with people who cause you a lot of stress, or you have a friend who is constantly telling you about their problems, or a boss who is making your life hell, then you need to first assess whether you can talk to these people and see if they can ease off. If not, you might want to consider making plans to get out of these relationships, workplaces, or any other environments that are a high source of stress. It is impossible to overcome troublesome anxiety while you are constantly surrounded by people who cause you a lot of stress. Now, people will often say to me, "But anxiety is not just stress." And yes, that is true, but from a physiological perspective, both anxiety and stress are essentially having the same effect on our nervous system. When anxious, stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol are rapidly secreted into the bloodstream. When under a lot of stress, stress hormones are also rapidly released into the bloodstream. Thinking and behaving in a fearful way will cause our minds and bodies a great deal of stress. And being exposed to high levels of stress can actually make us more prone to developing and sustaining anxiety. The more anxious we are, and the more stress hormones that are circulating throughout our body, the more severe our anxiety symptoms will be. I can't stress enough how much of an impact your environment can have on your anxiety. Tip 3, what if thinking. Do you engage in a lot of what if thinking? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if on my way to the shops today, I get into a nasty car accident? What if I get rejected by that person I like if I ask them out? What if people at the party don't like me? What if I stuff up my presentation at school or at work? What if this pain in my chest is a sign that I'm having a heart attack? Does this sound like you? What if thinking is one of the biggest contributors to anxiety disorders. If you really want to overcome from troublesome anxiety, then you really need to address this. Now, let's say you were about to be attacked by somebody. Before we have a chance to logically assess the situation, the amygdala, aka the fear and emotional center of the brain, will alert the rest of the brain that you are in danger and suppress the logical parts of our brain. It needs to suppress the logical parts of our brain because if you had time to stand there logically assessing if you are in real danger, you would be dead. This fight or flight response needs to happen at lightning speed in order to flood your body with adrenaline as quickly as possible to prepare you to fight or to run away. If you perceive that you can handle the threat, then you may face it and fight. If you perceive that you can't handle the threat, then you will most likely run away. Either way, these stress hormones help you to survive the situation. Have you ever noticed that you can run much faster when you're scared? Okay. The amygdala's primary concern is to keep you alive. The trouble with what if thinking is that these same fight or flight alerts are being triggered when you simply imagine scenarios like this. So, what can we do about this? Reframe thinking. Asking ourselves many what if questions causes us to start imagining worst case scenarios. Now, considering our brain reacts to imagined threats in the same way as it does with real threats, we really need to learn how to stop asking ourselves these what if questions. Because if we don't, we will keep triggering the fight or flight response. Every time it is triggered, it causes more stress hormones to be secreted, which makes us feel more anxiety. In order to overcome from anxiety, we need to stop triggering the fight or flight response. And one of the ways we do this is to stop asking ourselves what if questions. Another way we trigger the fight or flight response is by fearing and overreacting to our symptoms and wishing that they would go away, which I'll talk about next. Now, what if questions need to be reframed in order not to trigger the fight or flight response? For example, when you catch yourself perhaps thinking something like, what if I have a nasty car accident on my way to pick up the kids from school today? You could try to reframe this thinking to take the fear out of what you are saying to yourself. Perhaps you can say, I can't wait to see the kids. When I pick them up, I'm going to take them down the beach for some ice cream, and we are going to have a great time together. Now, can you see that with this second way of thinking, there is no fear involved in imagining a future event? Because there is no fear involved, you will not trigger the fight or flight response or the production and release of stress hormones. Reframing your thinking like this will over time help you to remain calm, and if practiced long enough, can be a very powerful strategy to overcome from anxiety disorders. Thinking like this will also make it much more likely that you will face the situations and scenarios that you have been avoiding. But what can we do about the symptoms of anxiety? Tip 4. Stop fighting. No, I am not suggesting giving up. I hear so many people say that they are fighting or battling with their anxiety and their anxiety symptoms. The irony here is that fighting with anxiety and the symptoms caused by anxiety is only going to make it worse. Think about it. Has your efforts in fighting or battling your anxiety made it better? I used to have some really severe anxiety symptoms. These included frequent urination, feeling tied up in knots in my stomach, trembling, turning red in the face, etc. Many people will have different symptoms, and the list of possible anxiety symptoms are almost endless. The good news is that the symptoms, although very real, are nothing to be concerned about. They are not a sign that you have a medical condition or a disease. They are simply the result of too many stress hormones circulating throughout your body. Anything that increases your anxiety and your overall stress level will result in more stress hormones. This is why worrying about our symptoms and wishing they would go away does not work. Resisting and fighting the symptoms simply produces more stress hormones. More stress hormones equals more symptoms. So the solution here is to reduce your stress as much as possible. One way you can reduce your stress is to be more accepting of your symptoms. Now, I know for a lot of you this is going to sound almost impossible, but I am telling you that it is possible and absolutely essential in order to recover from anxiety symptoms. Anytime we notice a symptom or symptoms and notice our urge to wish it away or resist the symptoms, we need to stop and say to ourselves something like, "This symptom is nothing to worry about. This symptom is just a sign that my body is overstressed. It is a sign that I have too many stress hormones built up in my body. The symptom came about from too much stress, and it will go away when I reduce my stress. I am not going to fight it. I'm going to let it be. I welcome this feeling." Yes, this sounds counterintuitive, but what you are actually doing here is teaching your brain not to fear the symptoms. Allow the feeling to be there and feel it. If you start shaking, let yourself shake. If you start sweating in public, let yourself sweat. Own the feeling. Ride with it, not against it. By doing this, you will over time lose the fear of the symptoms, and you will also not be triggering the release of stress hormones, which is exactly what you need to do in order to overcome from them. Okay, if you are serious about overcoming from anxiety, then the previous steps can help you. By no means are these the only steps necessary, but they are essential steps. I can perhaps make another video with more tips if there is a good response to this video. Now, I haven't gone into great detail here in an attempt to keep these videos short, but if you would like me to clarify anything that I have presented in this video, then feel free to comment down below and I will get back to you. Also, if you would like to have a one-on-one counseling session with myself via Skype, then please click the link in the description, which will take you to my website where you can make a booking. Also, if you value the information that I presented in this video, then please subscribe to my channel and also click the bell notification so that you are alerted to all my upcoming videos as soon as they are published.